I'm really interested in what they got going on in China, okay? So, we're going to go ahead and get right on into it. Trump and his tariffs have been crushing the Chinese economy. Is that even possible, right? Because we hear so much about China and what they got going on and their things, right? So it's like ain't no way, right? But we're gonna go ahead and check out this news article, what we found, or this YouTube video, the reaction to it. Take it in, see what we got, and y'all let me know what y'all think about this right here.
China's economy is collapsing step by step, and no one can stop it. Mr. Xi enters final phase of power as CCP cracks. Foreign media alarm China hides. Key economic data. What is Beijing trying to cover up? China's economy is collapsing step by step, and no one can stop it. China's economy is collapsing before the world's eyes. Urban unemployment is skyrocketing. Businesses are shutting down in waves. The wealthy and foreign investors are fleeing the country, and inside, public anger is boiling. What was once the world's manufacturing powerhouse is now cracking at its foundation. Footage is circulating online showing desperate factory workers setting buildings on fire after months of not being paid. Since Trump returned to power in the U.S., over 10,000 large-scale factories in China have shut down. Major zones in Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou, once full of life, now resemble ghost towns. Empty cities is no longer a warning, it's reality. Under Xi Jinping, the economy has taken a dark turn. His brutal zero-COVID lockdowns, rollback of economic reforms, reckless money printing, and an obsession with social control have created an economy suffocating under surveillance. The property market is collapsing. Banks are quietly failing. Young people are abandoning hope. Youth unemployment is so high that the government stopped publishing real numbers.
All right, so it sounds like they have a perfect storm of things happening to crash the economy there. Not just Trump's tariffs, but seem like bad policy. You know, bad government would do it every time, right? Bad business will also crush an economy as well. So when you throw in Donald Trump and his tariffs, you got a perfect storm for a once mighty economy. Down on its knees. Let's check it out.
Independent researchers estimate that by late 2024, urban youth unemployment exceeded 46%. Millions of recent college graduates are unemployed, underemployed, or forced to move back home, living off their parents with no vision for the future. The real estate sector, once the pride of
Man, y'all see those buildings? That's the projects.
China's economic miracle, is now its biggest curse. Over 50 million apartments lie vacant across the country.
Ooh-wee. 50 million apartments vacant. Good Lord.
Evergrande, Country Garden, and dozens of other
That's just underdeveloped right there.
developers are bankrupt or near total collapse. Housing prices have dropped sharply, yet nobody is buying. The middle class is paralyzed by fear. Even local governments are on the brink. More than 60% of provincial regions are struggling to pay salaries and pensions. In Shandong, hospitals have started issuing IOUs to patients due to a lack of government funding. Civil servants are seeing massive wage cuts or no pay at all. What was once called a slowdown is now a collapse.
All right, so you got workers not getting paid from in healthcare and in private and public sectors. That's pretty bad right there, man. Okay. So they're not paying the people aren't housed, and you got vacant buildings and apartments. Okay, let's go.
Foreign companies are rushing to get out. Apple is shifting iPhone production to India. Tesla is cutting back in China. In 2024 alone, over $160 billion in foreign direct investment flowed out of China, the largest capital
Man,
flight in Chinese history. The global business community is losing confidence.
well, that place looks like a ghost town. And that's a modern building too. Look at that, man. That's not like one of the old factories here in the States, right? Where, you can tell that it's been there since the 70s or the 80s or the 60s and they just left, right? That is a newer building. It's all white and pristine, but it's growed up, man.
Fast. Meanwhile, dissent inside China is quietly growing. Online posts criticizing the economy are deleted within minutes, but frustration is spreading. Even retired officials and economists are sounding the alarm. The house is burning, one professor wrote on WeChat, and the leadership is still painting the walls. Economist Holt concluded that China has effectively returned to a pre-reform state like 1979, before Deng Xiaoping opened the country to the world. The Communist Party's failed response to COVID, obsession with control, and refusal to accept economic reality have led China into a deep and potentially irreversible crisis. And this time, the rest of the world is watching. U.S. General, the CCP is at the
What y'all think so far, man? I mean, China is on an economic collapse. Unemployment is high. Factories are moving out. And those tariffs by Trump ain't helping not damn bit. What y'all think? Y'all let me know down in the comment section.
end of its rope, and Xi is entering the final phase of his rule. Retired U.S. Air Force General Blaine Holt wrote in Newsweek that the Chinese Communist Party, CCP, has reached its end, and Mr. Xi, the party leader, is on the road to becoming its last ruler. The former U.S. Deputy Military Representative to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, said that the CCP leader Xi Jinping has purged senior government and military officials in the name of anti-corruption investigations many times in the past. But the outside world found that in the third large-scale purge, more than 1,300 CCP officers and more than 80 generals were dismissed, and the CCP began to purge officials loyal to Xi Jinping.
Hold on. So we got officials. Oh man, this thing it's going down, man.
In the same anti-corruption name. Holt believes that Zhang Yuxia, vice chairman of the Central Military Commission of the Communist Party of China, has become a force to counter Xi and is also the driving force behind the removal of Xi's officials. He said that many people who observe China speculate that China's ancient prophecies are the real reason behind all the purges. The top leaders of the CCP, including Xi, are essentially atheists, but they are also very superstitious. There is a prophecy in the Tang Dynasty prophecy book Tuibei II that seems to predict that a coup and assassination will occur in the Xi Jinping era, and a warrior will sneak into the palace with a golden sword. The Tuibei II...
I know what y'all thinking, right? You're like, man, this can't be real. I know what y'all thinking. This can't be real. But what if I told you that in Miami, If you go to Miami Gardens, you got some people that's homeless, or in Miami, you got gang banging going on. What if I told you in Atlanta, you got gang banging going on in Atlanta? You got homelessness going on in Atlanta. What if I told you in Manhattan, you got gang banging, you got homelessness in Manhattan, New York? Would you believe it? Would you have to see it? Or would you think it's just all fun and games in Los Angeles? All that beautiful weather they got down there in Los Angeles. What about Skid Row? I got a partner right now, man. He said if you ain't making $80,000 in Los Angeles, don't even come. 80,000. That's the bottom. If you ain't making 80,000 a year, man, don't even come to Los Angeles. You're gonna throw your ass out. Yeah, let me know what y'all think about this right here, though, man. China's on an economic collapse, right? And those tariffs is really putting a damper on things, man.
The Great Depression is near, millions of Chinese struggling to survive in the face of economic collapse. China's housing crash worsens. Old home prices in 100 cities have fallen for 36 months, sparking panic sales in second-tier cities. The CCP's large-scale data concealment reveals the harsh reality of China's struggling economy. The Great Unraveling has begun. Across China, millions are teetering on the edge, trying to survive a slow-moving economic collapse. While official voices still claim everything is fine, the reality behind closed doors tells a different.
A lot of businesses closed there, man. That look like some places, here, man. Right? You'll go to, New York and then Manhattan. Like that place ain't like it used to be back in the 90s. It's not like it used to be back in the early 2000s. You got a lot of empty storefronts there. A lot. China's going through it too. The Chinese are going through it too. This is the economy that they said that was booming. And that the tariffs was going to crumble the American economy. But look what it's doing over there to China, though.
Story. Families across the nation are now scraping by on instant noodles and pickles. In Guangzhou, a humble for you and lunch set, about 1.4 US dollars. Fried egg, potatoes, noodles, and pickles sells out daily. The government keeps pushing slogans about upgrading consumption. But for most, those words ring hollow or absurd. Even rice, once the most basic and abundant food, is becoming harder to afford. Merchants report grain sales plunging by as much as 30%. Online, desperate users share their survival math. With 10 yuan, a family can barely get enough rice to last a day. If they have 50 yuan, they're lucky to afford one decent meal. The writing is on the wall. A prolonged recession is taking root. Among those with some remaining wealth, panic is growing. Some households with means are turning to gold, buying and burying it in secret. Fearing the yuan will lose its value in a full-blown economic meltdown, they no longer trust banks or official reassurances. Gold, not government, has become their last line of defense. Former luxury brands are slashing prices, pushing items for as little. In the once vibrant Yangtze River Delta, port activity has fallen by 30 to 40%, sending shockwaves through the economy. Purchasing power is collapsing. In March alone, consumer spending in Shanghai dropped 14% year-on-year. Beijing was the outlier with a 10% gain. But even that seems more illusion than reality. Unemployment is
They got those luxury bags and what it was 2 weeks ago. The TikToker had exposed the luxury brands, the luxury industry, saying that, hey man, we make all of this, we make all of these luxury bags and shoes and goods here for cheap. And the only thing that's missing is just a label that they'll go to a finishing facility elsewhere. We make that product for pennies on the dollar. We make it for $2 or $3 here. Meanwhile, they're gonna charge you $2 grand, $5 grand for this same bag that it only cost us $2 to make, $3 to make.
Exploding. Across the country, wages have rolled back to what they were a decade ago. In Zhangjiakou, average pay has dropped from 4,000 to 5,000 yuan to just 2,000 to 3,000. Stores are shuttering in droves. Nearly 93% of physical shops have reportedly closed. Around hospitals and labor markets, people line up before sunrise, hoping to grab a day's work, often for just 6 to 9 yuan an hour, despite the national average being 4.
All right, so they got a labor pool. They got day laborers, which makes sense. But I thought this was a socialistic economy. I thought this was a socialistic society. That means that everybody kind of pitch in to help everybody.
47 yuan. The tension is palpable. Police hand out fines relentlessly.
Look like
Urban
capitalism to
management
me.
cracks down on street vendors. Hope is running out. Lying flat has become a quiet rebellion. No house, no car, no marriage. In Wuhan, homeless people gather near water towers to find shelter. One girl pleads, "I have no job, no home, no money, just 5 yuan left." Her family is barely holding on. Many households are down to a single income. Marriages are strained. Government data shows that 90% of the unemployed never return to the workforce. For those jobless for over a year, the divorce rate hits a staggering 90%. Public spaces, libraries, coffee shops are now de facto shelters for the jobless. The crisis is generational. Middle-aged workers are vanishing from the labor force. Even new graduates are stuck in dead-end jobs. A recent graduate from Anhui, who majored in network communications and new media, said he had sent out more than 100 job applications and received 0 replies. In Tianjin, people work 12-hour shifts for just 3,000 yuan a month. Real estate agents are banned from telling the truth, even as the housing market crumbles. No.
The previous video reported 50 million vacant apartments. 50 million.
Nobody has money. Nobody is buying. As economic pain deepens, anger grows. The U.S.-China trade war has only made things worse. American tariffs have driven up prices in China by as much as 15%. Xi Jinping's government remains defiant in public, but behind the scenes, subtle policy shifts reveal quiet concessions. A recent propaganda video titled "No Kneeling" was widely mocked online by overseas Chinese as shallow political theater. Analysts say the Communist Party is scrambling to rekindle nationalistic spirit, even invoking the 1959 famine as a lesson in resilience. But rather than inspire, such messaging only widens the emotional gap between the leadership and the people. China's population is waking up and growing restless. From street protests in Chengdu to fierce online critiques of the Communist Party, public dissatisfaction is reaching a boil. Experts warn that larger, more organized protests are coming, not driven by ideology, but by hunger, hopelessness, and despair. For many, daily survival is now the only goal. Belief in the system is crumbling. "Why are wages so low? I don't want to follow the rules anymore," said one frustrated worker. Quiet desperation is turning into quiet rage, and possibly into open defiance. The storm may be closer than anyone dares to admit. China's housing crash worsens. Old home prices in 100 cities have fallen for 36 months, sparking panic sales in second-tier cities. China's real estate market is in the grip of a historic crisis. Home prices in 100 cities have fallen for 36 consecutive months, with April 2025 seeing an average year-on-year drop of 7.23% in the second-hand housing market. This isn't just a correction, it's a mass exodus. Once considered a safe haven for wealth, property in China is now being sold off at record speed as homeowners race to exit a collapsing market. While first-tier cities like Beijing and Shanghai have seen moderate declines, second-tier cities are at the heart of the sell-off storm. In Nanjing, just one day after local restrictions were lifted, listings for second-hand homes surged by an astonishing 332.5%. In Wuxi, more than 7,000 homes were posted for sale in only 3 days. Such numbers are unprecedented.
Man, so where are they going? They're moving to those smaller cities. They're moving out of the big cities and moving into the country.
And point to a widespread panic among property owners eager to offload their assets. Desperation is growing, and sellers are increasingly willing to accept heavy losses just to close a deal. In April, not a single city recorded a price increase for secondhand homes. The strategy now is simple: slash prices in exchange for any form of liquidity.
Man,
Some owners are cutting 10% to 15% off the asking price
can't
simply
afford.
to attract interest. In cities like Huai'an, prices dropped nearly 2% in a single month, while over 60 other cities saw declines between 0.3% and 1.5%. In places like Guangzhou, once prized neighborhoods such as Tianhe, Zhujiang Newtown, and the former milk factory development have returned to price levels not seen since 2017 or 2018. One unit that was once listed at 4.5 million yuan was eventually sold for just over 3 million after multiple price cuts. For homeowners who borrowed heavily during the boom years, the consequences are dire. Many now face the nightmare of negative equity, losing their homes while still drowning in debt. Adding to the chaos is the sharp
Boy, it gotta be a hurting feeling to lose your home, the place that you done paid rent or mortgage at, man, and you can't even afford that junk. They're going through it too, y'all. Okay? And these tariffs ain't helping out now a bit. The cost of goods just went up in China, man.
decline in transaction volume.
The leadership
Even
better
with
do
falling
something.
prices, buyers remain on the sidelines, expecting further drops. Shanghai's secondhand housing transactions fell from 29,000 units in March to just 22,000 in April. Hangzhou saw similar declines from 12,000 to 9,000. The market is paralyzed. Sellers are anxious, buyers are cautious, and deals are stalling across the board. Some analysts trace the roots of the current collapse to the ongoing trade war with the United States. Professor Huang Jikong warns that the country is now burdened with millions of unfinished and abandoned units, which will take years to absorb. Political commentator Chen Pokong goes further, linking the crisis to the mass closure of factories, plummeting export orders, and rising unemployment, all of which have decimated household confidence and buying power. What was once the backbone of China's economic miracle has become a dead weight dragging the country down. Real estate used to be the cornerstone of middle-class wealth, a trusted store of value. But now, as prices crash and liquidity evaporates, families are forced to sell at a loss just to stay afloat. China's property market has entered a long winter, Chen says, and under the shadow of economic slowdown and trade war, that winter may only grow colder. The CCP's large-scale data concealment reveals the harsh reality of China's struggling economy. In recent years, a wide range of official Chinese statistics has quietly disappeared, from land sales and foreign investment inflows to unemployment rates.
And that's the thing with China, right? And I guess this could happen anywhere, but especially in China, because they can suppress their information from the public because it's a socialistic society, man. It's not like the U.S. where we put everything out there and we will allow you to pick through what you want, right? We're going to put the truth out there. We're going to put some lies out there. We're going to put some entertainment out there, and you decide on what you want to read and what you want to consume. Whereas in China, their government can suppress information.
Cremation
Don't you just love your constitutional rights here? Freedom of press. Boy, that's a real thing.
figures, and even soy sauce production data. Experts believe this blackout is the CCP's way of concealing mounting economic distress. Since 2023, hundreds of economic and social data sets have been scrubbed, including youth unemployment rates and urban joblessness. When asked, authorities simply responded, "The data has stopped being provided." With traditional data sources vanishing,
Wow.
scholars have turned to creative methods to measure China's true economic health. Satellite nightlight maps, cement sales, Baidu Maps mobility data, and reports about gyms and beauty salons abruptly closing have become unofficial indicators. One economist even tracks how many business owners flee with customers' prepaid memberships. He claims it's more revealing than official GDP figures. Skepticism towards CCP statistics isn't new. In 2007, Li Keqiang admitted to the U.S. ambassador that GDP figures were for reference only, favoring
Wow.
electricity usage and freight volume instead. In 2023, after Peking University economist Zhang Dandan estimated youth unemployment could be as high as 46.5%, the government halted the release of that data. Months later, after adjusting the statistical method, the CCP resumed publication, reporting a far lower rate of 14.9%. China's real estate crash has dragged down local governments and fueled data suppression. The 2021 Data Outbound Control Law now hides even basic facts like company records and land sales. Some economists cross into Shenzhen weekly to gather data by hand. As vital statistics vanish, from COVID deaths to school toilet sizes, many see the CCP's secrecy as a sign of fear, not control. Experts warn that this opacity may delay panic, but accelerates the regime's collapse.
Man, y'all let me know what y'all think so far, man. The Great Depression in China, okay? Like we've been making some noise here in the US about our economy, about jobs being lost, about the tariffs and how they are collapsing the economy. The trucking industry is absolute trash right now. But China is reporting some bad news there. Y'all let me know what y'all think about that.
The Chinese economy is sinking like a leaking boat in a storm, rapidly overwhelmed by the long night of counter-cyclical forces. In the face of Trump's escalating trade war, the CCP is floundering, helpless. On April 25th, the Politburo meeting presented the futile plan to focus on stabilizing employment, stabilizing enterprises, stabilizing the market, and stabilizing expectations. Less than 2 months after the two sessions, the real estate has stopped falling and stabilized, and Li Qiang's political work report has vanished without a trace. Once a pillar supporting half of local fiscal revenue, real estate has now become a fatal wound to the CCP economy, one that cannot be healed. In early 2025, judicial auction houses have surged, but the transaction rate has plummeted, and the total transaction volume has crashed. Countless homeowners have lost their properties and wealth, now reduced to negatives. The real estate sector is on the brink of collapse, dragging the entire economy down into an inevitable financial tsunami. In the first quarter of 2025, judicial auctions exploded across the country, yet the transaction volume fell sharply. Since last year, the flood of supply cuts has relentlessly battered China's already fragile real estate sector. According to the judicial auction database monitored by China Index Academy, as of the end of March 2025, the number of judicial auction houses listed in the national market surged to 217,000 in Q1, up 1.4% from the previous year. Yet, insiders in the online video industry reveal that in January-February 2025 alone, the number reached an astonishing 1 million. In the first quarter of 2025, judicial auction houses recorded just 41,000 sales with a meager transaction rate of 13.97% and a staggering 74.16% average discount. Total sales plummeted by 15.9% year-on-year to 64.39 billion yuan, with prices sinking 2.7% to 5,131 yuan per square meter. Residential auctions saw a catastrophic decline: 99,000 listings, only 26,000 sales, and an average price of 9,172 yuan per square meter, a 6.1% drop from the previous year. In the top 50 cities, residential auction volume edged up by 0.9%, but prices tumbled by 8.2%. Commercial property auctions fell by 9.6% in volume and 12.4% in value. Judicial auctions have become a chilling economic alarm. They expose the deepening real estate crisis in China, spiraling mortgage defaults, escalating household debt, and the looming peril facing the banking sector. The non-performing loan rates of the 6 major banks have surged, and the financial storm is already on the horizon. For the 6 major state-owned banks of the Communist Party of China, the spike in non-performing loan rates is driven primarily by the rising rate of default in personal mortgage loans. Small and medium-sized banks are also grappling with a widespread surge in non-performing personal loans. Once the cornerstone of China's economic engine, the real estate sector, along with the mortgage interest income that banks heavily rely on, has become a chokehold on the entire economy. The collapse of real estate giants like Evergrande, Country Garden, and Vanke has caused a seismic shift in the industry.
You got the housing collapsing, man. All type of industries collapsing in China, and there's little talk about it in the U.S. I wonder why. Like, we're focusing on what's happening in the U.S., and which we should, right? But there's a bigger play at hand. Like, what is really happening overseas, though? Like, whatever our commander-in-chief is doing, is it working?
Threatening to
Seem like it
unravel
is.
local
Y'all
and
let me know
national
what y'all think.
finances.
Y'all leave a comment.
It is now a ticking time bomb, ready to obliterate the Chinese economy at any moment. As the US-China trade war escalates, the implosion of the housing market is speeding up, further sealing the economy's fate. Shanghai's consumption crash and Beijing's economic strain, countless households drowning in debt. I can guarantee that 70% of people in Shanghai can't even afford their own wages. You might not believe it, but the reality is brutal. Major companies in the city are already considering salary cuts and layoffs, and for smaller businesses, survival this year is uncertain. Look at
That sound like the U.S., doesn't it? That sound like some businesses in the U.S. That sounds like a story that you can find on TikTok or on YouTube or Facebook or whatever platform you want to search for information from the people. You can hear that same story here. They're going through it too. So who's going to cave in first? That's the question. Who's going to give in first?
Shanghai now. Tenants in major commercial office buildings are hopping from job to job every month. I interact with bosses from all industries daily, and almost every one of them is burdened with online loans and microloans. The struggle to survive has never been harder. But who, in their right mind, would drown themselves in debt, borrowing from Peter to pay Paul just to keep a business afloat? The thought alone is chilling. If even the bosses are battling this nightmare, how can the employees possibly fare any better? What's happened to physical stores in Shanghai? Are we seriously heading toward mass
Man, that look like the apocalypse.
starvation? Quick haircuts on the streets have become ubiquitous. A few years ago, this was unimaginable. Even in first-tier cities like Shanghai, 15 yuan quick haircuts are now everywhere. Before 7 p.m., once bustling Life Square is deserted, with not a soul in sight. Hair salons, home service shops, clothing stores, department stores, practically empty. What's going on? Compared to a few years ago, this is a completely different scene. As the US-China trade war escalates, the Chinese economy is entering a deep, silent cooling, one that's terrifying beneath the surface. Shanghai, once the economic powerhouse of China, now feels like a sinking ship. Once teeming with people and energy, this metropolis is now slowly descending into despair. Today I'm sharing the reality of what's happening in Shanghai. I arrived at Shanghai Hongqiao Station today, and it felt like the entire city had vanished. At 7 p.m., there were hardly any people. Last year, Fridays here would have been packed. Today, it was eerily quiet. The streets were wide open with no traffic jams. Where have all the people gone? Even inside Hongqiao Station, the usual crowd was absent, and the scene felt off. Almost empty. Fewer and fewer people are in Shanghai. When will the city's economy recover? How bad is the living situation now? Let me show you. You've probably heard of Shanghai Lujiazui, right? It's right next to the iconic Oriental Pearl Tower. But today, most shopping malls there are closed. It's not just Lujiazui. Xintiandi, home to some of the city's most expensive real estate, has empty stores. Even first-tier malls across the street are shutting down.
Sounds familiar? What about your local mall in your town? Did it go through a transition? Stores closing? Big box stores like Belk's, J.C. Penney's, Sears? What about the dealers in the Macy's? All those flagship stores closed. Yep, it's happening in China too. Who's going to break first, America or China?
If even the richest in Shanghai are cutting back on consumption, what about those in other cities? The situation is probably even worse. The most tragic part? In Shanghai, the most miserable people aren't the street sweepers or factory workers. They're the ones who appear wealthy. I've lived here for over a decade, working with banks for 8 years. Every day, I see people in suits, driving luxury cars, living in million yuan homes, yet they're drowning in debt. They carry
What y'all think, man?
millions in loans with tens of thousands in
Leave a
monthly
comment in the
interest.
comment section, yo.
Their biggest dream? To live like ordinary people, free from the pressure. Countless young people are unemployed, burdened with debt, and families face bankruptcy in this economic winter. A netizen shared his story on overseas media. He was born in Minhang District from a working-class family. He used to be a marketing manager in Lujiazui. A decade ago, he looked out from a high-rise in Pudong, dreaming of a bright future in Shanghai, changing homes, starting a family, living decently. Today, he stands on a cold street, staring at the deserted Nanjing Road, shuttered RT Mart, and locked shops, his heart filled with chill. Shanghai is terrifying now. Over 70% of physical
And
stores.
the one thing about China too, they are notorious with building up an area and then leaving. Build, leave, build, leave. You talk about a microwave society. Now that is a microwaved society, man. I want y'all to really think about this too. You know, it used to be a thing back in the day that China made real cheap goods. They made a lot of goods, but they made them cheap. And I want y'all thinking about the quality of the products that you receive. Like, man, your everyday products, like, it's really poor quality. It's at a cheap price, but the quality is cheap. And everything that they does is fast, it's quick, and it's cheap. What they use the fancy word efficient. That's what they use, the word efficient, right? And I think that is coming back to bite them in the butt on top of the trade wars. Stealing our information, right? We have to build over there. And while we're doing business over there in China, what they do, take our ideas, steal our ideas, take our products, copy it, make a cheaper version of it, then send it back out to us. It's coming back.
Have shut down. That means out of 100 stores on a street last year, only 30 remain. and even those are barely holding on. A customer of mine who runs a clothing store said it
Look at
clearly.
that.
After warmly serving customers, they just buy the same thing online.
Sheesh, that look
He
like
used to own
a
20
flea
clothing
market.
shops in Shanghai. Now only one remains, on Nanjing Road Pedestrian Street. It's hard to imagine. When physical stores disappear, so does the city's spirit.
That look like
If you come
a
to
flea
shop in
market. No
Shanghai
lie.
and see nothing but closed shutters, what would it look like? In Beijing, the situation isn't much better. The capital, historically a symbol of prosperity, now feels the weight of the same economic pressures. While Shanghai has become the focal point of crisis, Beijing's residents are also grappling with a lack of consumer confidence. Businesses are closing, retail spaces are empty, and even luxury markets have started to feel the strain. The city's once bustling commercial centers, such as Wangfujing and Sanlitun, are quieter than
And that's
ever,
a beautiful
as
building
fewer
too.
people are willing or able to spend. Despite its reputation as the political heart of China, Beijing is experiencing a steady decline in both consumption and
Wow.
economic growth. The property market is stagnating, and rising debt levels are taking a toll on families across the city. Many are living paycheck to paycheck, unable to meet even basic needs, while
Wow.
some wealthy individuals are quietly drowning in debt. What was once an economic powerhouse is now showing signs of significant distress. As Beijing struggles to maintain its status as a leader in China's economy, the reality of the situation becomes more and more apparent.
Man, y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Look, we're not the only ones that's going through this thing with the tariffs. And it seems like the strategy is working. Okay? Those tariffs they help crushing the economy over there in China, man. Who's going to give in first, the Americans or the Chinese government? Who's going to win this trade war, China or America? Both working classes are pushed to the brink. Overwork, underpaid, underwork, underpaid. Bad policies everywhere. Y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comment section, man. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Who's winning the trade war? What y'all think about China and their economy? Is there help for them? Are we going to bend first? Who's going to bend the knee? America or China, man? Y'all let me know down in the comment section, man. Hey, this your boy AK. I'm out. Peace.